Hey, what's up everybody? My name is Olukaudi Oliori and I'm back today with another beautiful story from the Bible. Today I'm going to be giving you 3 useful tips for telling Bible stories properly. And the story we're going to be telling today is from the book of Genesis chapter 2. Did you know that there are 625 words just in Genesis chapter 2? Yep. I counted. Now that's a long story to tell. If you're going to tell that to someone, you're going to end up with a very long and boring tale. If you apply these 3 tips that I'm about to give you into your Bible storytelling, you're going to find it very easy and very, very enjoyable for your listeners. Tip number 1, try not to use more than 3 names when you're telling a story. Because the more names you add, the more distractions you add into the story. The thing about stories are characters. And so the more characters you add, the lesser you're able to spend time on one character, and then there is no build up, and before you know it, you end up with a really flat story. What you do is you only take the essential characters that are paramount to the story that you're telling, you focus on these ones, and you build on these ones. Tip number 2, avoid adding irrelevant locations to your story. There are hundreds of locations in the Bible, but when you are telling a story, you want to focus on your story. And so you only have the location that is completely relevant to your story. Tip number 3, recognize echoing statements in the Bible and summarize. One of the things about Bible, sentences and phrases repeat themselves. You want to recognize the ones that are echoing and summarize them. So now let us apply these 3 tips that I just gave you to Genesis chapter 2. This is the story of how God created the heavens and the earth. In that time when God had not yet sent rain upon the face of the earth, there were no grasses because there was no one to cultivate it. And so an underground spring came and watered the surface of the earth. And so God formed man from the dust and breathed into his nostril, and man became a living being. And so God took the man that he had created and planted a garden for him in the east of Eden. And in there were beautiful trees, pleasant to the eyes and good for fruit. Also in the midst of the garden was the tree of life and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And God told the man, of everything that you see, you may freely eat, but of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, you shall not eat. For in the day that you eat of it, you will surely die. And so God looked at the man and said, it is not good for man to be alone. We will make for him a companion and helper. And so God formed from the earth all kinds of animals and birds and reptiles and everything that we see today. And God brought all of them to the man to see what he was going to call them. So whatever the man called the animals, that was his name. And God saw that there was really no one that was compatible with the man. So God caused the man to fall into a deep sleep and took one of his rib, covered the flesh, and from the rib, God formed a woman. And so God brought the woman to the man and presented her to him. And so as soon as the man saw the woman, it was like, whoa, this is now the bone of my bone and the flesh of my flesh. Because she was taken out of man. I wonder how we knew that. And so for this she will be called woman. And for this reason, a man will leave his father and his mother and be united to his wife, and the 2 of them will become one flesh. And the 2 of them were in the garden, enjoying themselves, both naked, and they were not ashamed. Now that is the story from Genesis chapter 2, and you too can tell that story to anyone if you would apply the tips that I just gave to you. Thank you so much for listening today. It's been such a pleasure to tell you Bible stories. I am grateful for the opportunity. I'm always grateful to God.